Brother Rich Christensen grew up in Beaver, Utah. He received his undergraduate degree from BYU in electronic engineering in 1989 and went further to receive an MBA from BYU, graduating summa cum laude in 1991. Since grad school, Rich has founded or co-founded 28 businesses, each with less than $10,000. Of those, 8 have become multi-million-dollar companies. He has also worked at Mitsubishi Electric, Novell, and About.com. He is a member of the BYU Alumni Advisory Board and the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers. He is also a certified Novell instructor and an enterprise certified network engineer. Brother Christensen currently serves as second counselor in his ward bishopric. He and his wife, Gay Christensen, were married on February 2nd, 1987. They are the parents of 5 sons and 1 adopted daughter from Nepal. Brother Christensen is the co-author of Bootstrap Business, a step-by-step business survival guide, his first book, which he recently released. Brothers and sisters, Brother Christensen.
Thank you for that introduction. Have I got mic here? Can everyone hear me okay? I'm going to come down here at the risk of being irreverent in the chapel. I can't stand behind a podium and blather on, and I have a good friend that says, don't confuse passion for anger. So if I get a little animated, you'll see why. I am pretty passionate about bootstrapping and creating a business. And indeed, I'm really happy to be here, really love being with you guys. I'm going to hit a couple of the key principles and concepts in the book, but there's no way to go through everything, so I'm just going to go really, really fast and then try giving you guys a little bit of Q&A time at the end. I was going to do this at the end, but I've been a little bit troubled by the stimulus package in the U.S. I'm totally convinced that if there's anyone that's going to get this country back on track, it's not going to be the large corporations with billions of dollars. So one of the things I'm going to do is my own little stimulus package. Have a really good friend that wrote a really fun book called Killing Sacred Cows. His name's Garrett Gunderson. And as I talk to Garrett, he always says there's 3 types of capital, and everyone thinks that the only type of capital is financial capital. And indeed, that's what we focus on most of the time. But indeed, I agree with him. Financial capital is the least powerful of the 3 types of capital. It is a type of capital, but it's the least powerful. More powerful capital is intellectual capital and relationship capital. One of the main powerful things that you do at school is you're building relationship capital with your peers. So one of the things I wanted to do here at the end of the presentation is I do have a gift that I'm going to give you that dramatically builds your intellectual capital. We're also going to be passing up around a little sign-up sheet to receive that. But once a week, I send out a little blog post that will dramatically in entrepreneurship increase your intellectual capital. So I would encourage and invite you to sign up for that so you can receive that little stimulus package from me, if you will. So just real quickly, a little bit of my background is indeed I started my career as a corporate guy. I started with a small company and lost a couple of $1 million for Ray Norda. With a real cool technology that pushed me into engineering school, or out of engineering school into MBA school, and then I went on to Novell, where I became a corporate guy. After that, I became general manager of Mitsubishi Electric's PC division, and after a period of time there, I became the general manager of About.com. So it was literally half my career before I actually got into creating companies full term. I then went on and created a number of companies. I've now founded or co-founded 28 companies. And you know what? 10 of them were ugly, miserable, bad, yucky successes. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a real win until I got through 6 failures. And you guys heard a dramatic advantage for me. I had no mentors. I mean, I grew up in Beaver, guys. Beaver, Utah. All 2,000 if you count the cows, okay? So I had to start pretty much from rock bottom to get to it. So I did have a couple of good wins along the way, and I failed 10 companies, but after that, I've now had 8 that have become multi-million-dollar businesses. And of those 8, all of them were started with 5,000 to 10,000 startup capital. And about 3 years ago, I was doing really well in business and went through just a really ugly partnership meltdown. just an all-out meltdown in my partnership, and it so gutted me. I'm laying on the floor bleeding all over the place. I decided I'm going to take a year sabbatical. And I got about 1 month into the sabbatical. I was down golfing in southern Utah with my younger brother. And he says, Rich, this isn't good. I see it in your eyes. This isn't healthy. You're going nuts. This isn't you. What are you going to do? And I says, I'm going to write my memoirs. And he says, who is going to read that? Who wants to read your management metaphor? Who wants to read that? What I want you to do is I want you to write a recipe book, a recipe guide of how you've created these businesses, because it freaks the rest of us out. He says, I've seen you lose millions of dollars and then make it, and write a recipe book to help us avoid the mistakes. So I came back and says, wow, that's a great idea. At the time, I was in a stake presidency with a really good friend that was somewhat in the same situation I was. He was one of the founders of Alteris. His name's Ron Porter. He was actually the guy that at Novell founded their premium services division, which was the first time in the history of the world that a technical support group had actually been taken to a revenue-generating center. And Ron said, Rich, I'm bored. I want to write that book with you. So we got we started writing, went to our office and got a couch and a great big whiteboard and started writing this book. And got about 3 months into it, and Ron said, I'm not going to take this anymore. I know you're an entrepreneur. I was espousing all these cool entrepreneur principles that fly in the face, quite frankly, of a lot of what he and I learned in MBA school. And he said, I'm not going to take it anymore. He actually had an eraser, and he threw the eraser at me in disgust. And you'd have to understand Ron. He's a pretty mellow guy, so to get that reaction is pretty amazing. And he says, prove it. So I says, okay. We each put $2,500 in and began using this as the context to write the book. So everything we did, we began proving the principles through this company. First thing we did is chase cash. We developed this company called Everest Web Solution. And the reason we're playing Michael Bublé is we have $5,000 in the bank. The first thing we do is we book the cheapest tickets we can, red eye, out to New York, where I had a couple of contacts, and set up a couple of meetings. We went to a conference called the Search Engine Strategies Conference. And we stayed in a little rat trap of a hotel, if you can even call that, because we were trying to conserve our limited funds. And we went in at 10 Rockefeller Plaza in a meeting we'd preset, and we came out of that having landed Warner Music Group. And the first artist, the first contract that we got was Michael Bublé. So we instantly then went and started chasing other clients and other customers and was growing the business, doing really, really well. There were a couple of guys out of New York, a couple of Jewish guys, I would add, out of New York that we kept running into. Every account we were in, we were bumping into them, and we were getting along really well with these guys. And we decided, hey, let's see if we can put something together. So we took our companies and we formed a company called Castaway. These are our partners. The two guys in the middle there are our Jewish friends out of New York. 1 year after we had created the company, we went back to New York to celebrate because we had taken our $5,000, and in 1 year we had generated $1.2 million at 65% margin following the principles that we'd outlined in this book. So indeed, it can be done. Another fun thing that we did is I've mentioned the teenagers multiple times, and we got a couple, 3, 4 of our linker boys there. We took our little team as a celebration trip this first year back to New York. And where do you got to go when you're in New York? You've got to go to Wall Street, right? But indicative of the market, we had to go to the back side of the bowl because that's kind of what the market's looking like right now. So one of the things that continually hits me is, and we heard these questions today, is can I do this? Do I have the capacity to do it? Do I have it in me to do what it takes? And I have to tell you that indeed you do, and indeed you can. The biggest hurdle that you guys face is not going to be the market. It's not going to be the cash. Actually, the cash and the money it takes to start the businesses is the easiest part. When my wife and I got married, we had $500 to our name. We moved to Provo in a car that had been totaled three times with everything we had in the back of the car. And you know what? We kind of bootstrapped it up and made it, and you know what? You can too. The biggest challenge that you're going to face, where does someone think it's going to be? Any comments? Where's the biggest challenge going to be? No, it's not money. Money is the easiest part.
Could it be an internal process of actually thinking that you can do it?
That's right. It's right between those two ears right there. It's in your brain. That's the biggest hard